Here's Chris Maher, host of FFM93 Live.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of FFM93 Live. We are here in the summer. We are getting closer and closer to the NHL draft that is coming up next week. Last night, it was actually a week away, as the draft is this year is actually on a Thursday and Friday, a little bit different. Usually it's a Friday, Saturday event, but welcome. Hope everybody is doing well. Again, a lot of different things that has been coming out in the last handful of days. We've seen some things with the NHL. We've seen there was a trade, a couple signings. So there's different things. A little bit of a kind of a tough situation with the Flyers right now with one of the players. And I will talk about that in a minute. But we do have Russ Cohen from Sportsology joining the show. Russ actually was supposed to come on live, but something ended up happening and he actually had another show to do. So he actually recorded right before this. So you'll hear from Russ in a minute here. Yeah, look, again, I think there's been a lot of different things that have kind of come in the last handful of days. There's been stuff on the draft, obviously the Fedotov situation that's been pretty current and fluent right now. It doesn't seem like the Flyers have made a comment yet, at least from what I've seen. This question here: what are your thoughts on Durant to Philly? I got no idea about basketball. This one comes from Jeffrey. He says, was also curious about Ryan Ellison, his injuries. Will he be a part of the team this season? Honestly, Jeffrey, I think it's tough, man. Like it's such a hard situation. Fletcher said the other day in the press conference that the bulk is still ahead for the rehab, has several more steps before he's on the ice, quote unquote, still more work to do. So we will see. I really don't know. It's so tough because you have it's such a hard situation, right? And you have, you have the situation with him where essentially you want him to be your pairing with Provorov. You don't know if he's going to be healthy. And I think the hardest thing about it is just trying to at least make sure the guy is healthy. I mean, it's such an unfortunate because nobody really knows what it is. Bill Meltzer had a tweet out yesterday. It's pretty much everything in the groin pelvic region, from hips, groin, pelvic, like the whole thing. And it's so unfortunate because, again, the Flyers make this trade. Last year was a pretty it seems like the Flyers were really, it wasn't like they didn't act like desperate last year, but they really made a good amount of moves. And I don't think Fletcher wants to do that again. And I don't really think this is the offseason to do that again. And I'm going to talk about some free agents in a little bit. But look, I mean, I thought the press conference the other day, I thought there was a good amount of things that kind of came out with it. Look, I mean, the press conference, I know everybody kind of takes a certain way or kind of takes it lightly, whatever. Like, as I said, look, to me, I think it's tough because everybody is so frustrated and everybody is so upset about how the last season went that I don't think many people really have faith in the Flyers staff. I have some faith and I don't. I think it's tough with everything going on. And now obviously you get the whole Fedotov situation. Ethan, what's up, man? How are you? Ethan also asked a question. What's up, Chris? What do you think about the Fedotov situation? Look, I think it's tough. I mean, I don't really know what to say. I mean, it's such a tough situation. And obviously we still have to see if it's confirmed true by the team. So obviously I'm not going to comment too much on it because, it appears to be true, but it's tough with everything going on. Fletcher did mention something the other day, about, maybe signing a veteran backup goaltender. I don't know if this had anything to do with it. This is obviously a different thing. And again, I don't want to make it like that's the only thing I'm worried about. Like, I'm obviously clearly worried about Fedotov and the whole situation there because I saw a tweet that it seems like the punishment is that he would have to go to war or something like that. I don't know. It's such a weird situation. But kind of getting off of that, I'm going to revisit that in a little bit. We have Russ Cohen, and again, one thing I just wanted to say, that it all kind of came like right at one time when Russ kind of said that He wasn't actually able to do it live, so we did it beforehand. And I wasn't actually able to edit the video, so there's a little delay in the beginning. And also it's not like the Nick Schultz video was, where it was all nice and edited and cropped and everything. So I do apologize for that. I just did not have enough time, and I didn't want to push the show back either, because that wouldn't be fair to you guys. So again, this is Russ Cohen, and this is our conversation on the Flyers draft coming up next week.
Good. I'm doing good.
Good. All right, Russ, thank you for joining me. Russ Cohen, everybody from Sirius XM and Sportsology. Russ, thanks for doing this. Really do appreciate it. How you doing?
Chris. Good. I'm doing good.
Good. Yeah, so obviously the draft coming up next week. It seems like there's a lot of different things. To me, it kind of seems like nobody really knows kind of what's going to happen here. I think last night, or it might have been the night before, I think it was Corey Proman from The Athletic had Shane Wright going 4. So it seems like everybody has a bunch of different things. Who do you think is going number 1 overall here?
Shane Wright.
He's
not going 4th.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I feel like if Wright was going to drop, I feel like it would be 2nd overall. But I feel like we go 1st. Is there any other predictions that you have that could maybe guys that could kind of fall or maybe go a little bit higher?
I think Savoy's going to fall a little bit because of his size. He shouldn't, because he's really good. Like even if he was there at 5, I can't tell you definitively the Flyers would take him, even though they probably should. If it's between Jiricek and Savoy, which it could be, I could see them going Jiricek. I vacillate back and forth too on that one, believe me, but I still might end up taking Savoy in the end, just because of the playmaking aspect and everything else that he's got going in his game. The Flyers need playmakers, but they need a lot of things. So that's what the draft's for. As far as other guys, I can see Connor Geekie falling a little bit just because of the skating, but again, he's a terrific center. Like there's teams that are going to try and turn some of these other guys into centers and hope that they can do it. And this guy is a terrific center. He just has to work on his skating. If he gets to NHL average skating, he'll be a really good center. And again, I feel like he's just not even getting talked about since the combine, and he's a really good player. Obviously, his brother's in the league. He's smart. Right. He knows how to make plays. He plays defense. He's 6'4". There's a lot of good things about Connor Geekie. So, but still, he might fall. I mean, at this point, Lambert's fallen. It's just a matter of to where, I still think there's a chance the Islanders would take him with his uncle there. I think that's something the Islanders took Aatu Ratti when he fell. I think they might do the same with Brad. Brad's got a tremendous amount of talent. He's one of the most talented guys in this draft. It's just he went over and he's playing against men and he didn't put up offensive numbers. But again, if you watch the little bit in the World Juniors, he was going to dominate the World Juniors, but then the World Juniors shut down. Right. So it's kind of not his fault, but that's the way his resume reads. But he's got a tremendous amount of talent, can play center. He's got great vision and speed, scoring ability. So the right team has to draft him, though, because he's a little immature, I think, and that's fine. So are a lot of people at a young age. So I think that's a key for him. Other than that, for falling, I mean, Ivan Miroshnichenko, I think, already has fallen. It's just a matter of how far. It's good to hear that his health is good, but I don't know how much he's going to recover, whether he recovers into a first-round pick or not. He might have been a top 10 pick if it didn't happen. So, but not for me. I mean, there were some other things that I think he has to work on, like maybe his on and off the ice workouts and things like that. So that's something where I think Miroshnichenko could improve on, but he's a hell of a talent. So, but I do think he's fallen to some degree too.
Okay. If you were looking at it in the Flyers' perspective, because obviously I think everybody knows that they need a lot. They need a defenseman. They need a forward. I mean, really, they could use anything. Who do you think they take? If it's possible, both defensemen go top 4. I'm not sure if you think that, but if that were to happen, who do you think that the Flyers could take? Well,
I do think the possibility exists because, you hear these rumors out Arizona now that maybe Nemec goes there.
Mhm.
But then there's a thought like, well, if that happens, would Seattle really pass on Logan Cooley to take Jiricek?
Right.
And I'm mostly hearing no, probably not.
Mhm.
So based on that, I still think Jiricek would be there even through Seattle, because Logan Cooley falling to them would be a hell of a find.
Yeah.
And they would have Beniers and Cooley for a lot of years, right? So that is a hard thing to pass up.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I saw something the other day like that, like if both defensemen go and then Wright and Slafkovsky, that means Cooley's dropping to the Flyers. And I don't think that's happening. I think that's a long shot.
I think it's the longest of long shots. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not impossible. It's not,
Right.
but I don't expect it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, because really, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't think nobody really knows. It's kind of tough. I mean, the only way
I think they know the number one. I think people know that Shane Wright's going to go to the Montreal Canadiens.
Mhm.
Beyond that, no. I mean, I'm originally I would have thought the Devils should take Cooley, because again, you can't have too many centers.
U.S. program too.
Yeah, but they can't have too many centers. But again, you hear about Heischer and it's like, okay, but maybe he could play the wing, or maybe Dawson Mercer's going to play the wing.
Mhm.
Maybe Cooley's going to play the wing. Like, you don't know. But the idea is, I would not draft him because I feel like I'm going to have too many centers, because he's going to go to college for a couple of years anyhow.
Right.
So, but in the end, they also can use a power forward, because Pavel Zacha hasn't done what they wanted him to do.
Mhm.
And so I do see where Slafkovsky could slot in for them, and it makes sense. So ultimately, I'm kind of expecting Slafkovsky to go second to the Devils.
Mhm. No, for sure. Look, and that's kind of something I've been thinking too. And I kind of had it penciled in as I think that they'll take Cooley just because of the U.S. program. If I'm being honest with you, I mean, from taking Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes and everybody else. But if there was one guy that you could pencil down, I guess, as like the safe kind of pick, like I guess you could say, as for the Flyers, would you kind of say that that's Joakim Kemmel or no?
Yeah, Kemmel, I think, is a safe pick. I don't know if the Flyers are going to take someone 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's the difference between Kemmel and Caulfield? We're, not that far removed from that.
And
so
and obviously they didn't sign Connor McLennan either.
Right. So, I can only go by what they've been doing, not
Right.
what I think they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, McLennan's another good example. I just think I do feel Kemmel's a safe pick, because he's got a tremendous shot. He's smart. He already has a two-way game.
Mm-hmm.
He knows his skating is good. It may not be elite, but it's good. Right. And he is like very mature.
Yeah.
So I would have no problem with him. I would have no problem with Leke Ramaki, because there's a tremendous goal scoring upside with him.
Mm-hmm.
You hear the Cutter Gauthier things, and I interviewed Gauthier months ago, and he told me, yeah, he's playing some center when they need him at the NTDP. He fills in, and the thing about that is, so I looked it up. I have access to Instat, and so like his faceoffs this year were at 46%, and so it's like, okay, I mean, the thinking for me is it only gets harder when you move up. Yeah. So it's harder to increase your faceoff percentage. And I always use Connor McDavid as an example. He's not a great faceoff guy, but it's Connor McDavid, so you don't care, because he's going to outscore all your problems. And if he gets the puck, even losing the faceoff, it doesn't matter.
He's just going to blow right by it. Exactly.
Right. But Gauthier is not Connor McDavid. So like, if you are taking him 5th overall and you think he's a center, he better be a center. Mm-hmm. So that's, to me, there's an element of risk in that. There's no risk if you're taking him as a winger, except you probably shouldn't take him 5th, because there's better players.
Right. And it's funny, like that you bring that up too, because I kind of have seen some argument the same way with Savoy. Like, if you think he's a center, then take him at center. Because I actually was talking to Bill Meltzer about this, and Bill actually brought up a good point. He's going to need a lot of development patience. And that's kind of something that I do agree with, because the Flyers don't really give that to anybody. I mean, I think the prime example of it is Morgan Frost. So that's kind of why I feel like that they should steer away from Savoy. But kind of getting out of the first.
And Bill's right, but I do think Savoy can play center too. Mm-hmm. I think there's an excellent chance. There's always a chance he's going to be a winger, but I think the makeup, the strength, I think he's got what it takes to be a center. But Bill's right. There's going to be some development time, but it's not because of strength. It's just because, finding where he's going to fit in. But he's super smart. Like this guy, and he's great in the offensive zone. Like very, very gifted. Again, do I think the Flyers are going to take him? Probably not.
No, for sure. I mean, again, like I don't see it either. I kind of have been thinking that they're going to take Jiricek if he's there. If not, then I would go Kemmel. But that's just me.
Okay.
For the second round, obviously, the Flyers don't have a second round pick. Do you see them kind of moving up to try to take one? Try to get a pick?
I think they're going to try. But again, they've stockpiled a couple of those 2023 picks, the third rounders, and you kind of wonder, did they do that because they're going to use one to get rid of JVR's salary, or did they do that just because they do love that draft? And if they do, then they're probably not going to be willing to trade something from that draft into 2022, which, again, I would rather have 2022. I'm not going to bank on a lot of picks on the next year's draft when I'm losing a year of development. Like I'm in an organization now that needs players, and 2023, their first round pick down the line, all that does is take longer development to get players to the NHL.
And especially because you have so much time to get picks for that draft. I mean, you have a whole nother year.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to lose that time. I'll take what's in the second round and be very happy with it. But I think they're going to try. I don't know if they'll be successful.
Is Adam Engram a guy that you think that they could go for? I know we talked about
him. I mean, they spoke to him, and I know, things went well, but that's probably their hope is that he's going to be there when they pick again. I'm not so sure it will be, though. I can see a team with multiple seconds taking him because he's a goal scorer.
No, for sure. And that's the thing. Like, I was kind of thinking maybe it's a situation where they got Bobby Brink, where they had a pick and it traded up a good amount of spots to get him. Obviously, they don't have a pick now, so they have a little bit less leverage to do that. But Russ, as always, thanks for doing this. Really do appreciate it. And again, everybody, Russ Cohen, Sportsology, and Sirius XM.
Anytime, Chris.
I was muted there for a second. All right. Again, thank you, Russ, for joining. Look, I kind of look at this draft as, again, to me, it's like nobody, again, I do agree with Russ that I think everybody knows kind of outside of right, that it's pretty much anybody can go. I can see both defensemen going top 4. I can see the Flyers maybe taking Kemmel. I could see Jiricek if he falls. Look, I mean, look, there's so many different possibilities. But let's kind of get off the draft for a little bit. The Ivan Fedotov situation, right? So again, it was tweeted out this morning that essentially there was a whole thing, and I'm going to read this. This is from the Hockey News Hub. This came at 9:15 this morning. Report photo of Flyers goaltender Ivan Fedotov has been detained in St. Petersburg. Details to come. And then there was kind of a whole different thing here. According to the Sports Express, Ivan Fedotov was detained in St. Petersburg by the Military Registration and Enlistment Office. The reason for the incident is still unknown. According to this report, there are sufficient grounds to consider Ivan Fedotov an Army invader. Let me see here. Hearing reports that the detention of Ivan Fedotov due to evading the Army was initiated by the CSKA. He may have been detained or was detained and released since he answered the phone. It's such a hard thing, right? And I actually sent it to a couple people, and they were saying they were trying to get an answer back from some people about it. And then this was tweeted out by Slava Malamud, who is a journalist out in Baltimore, and he tweets about like Russia and stuff. He said, Ivan Fedotov, the NHL Flyers prospect, has been arrested in Moscow for quote-unquote draft evasion. His crime was wanting to go to the NHL and thus displeasing his CSKA bosses. His punishment will be going to the military, perhaps even the war. So, look, we'll see if the Flyers comment on this. It's such a weird thing, and I feel bad for the guy. I mean, it's tough. Look, I think it's such a tough situation, and I can't really comment on much of it because the Flyers haven't confirmed nor denied anything. So who knows what's going to happen moving forward with Fedotov. I would like to think and hope that he can at least get out of it. I don't know if that's the case, but unfortunately, that's the situation right now for Fedotov and for the Flyers, at least looking to see it, to get a backup goaltender. I wonder if this will change anything. I don't know. That's obviously not the concern at the moment, but kind of moving on from that. Obviously, the other day we get the this is from Howard here. High risk of Russian draftees. Exactly. It doesn't help at all, and it's tough because you have it's such a tough situation with everything going on over there, and and that's the last thing that you want. I hope he can at least get out of it and not be able to be stuck over there or have to go through any of that. I mean, it's so tough for a guy. For a guy like that to think that you're going to the NHL and then have it end up getting stopped and everything. So again, look, we'll see what happens if the Flyers can confirm nor deny it or anything like that. But the other day, the Flyers had their pre-draft, basically press conference from assistant GM Brent Flair and general manager Chuck Fletcher. And look, it seems like the Flyers to me, it seems like that they're open to trading number 5, but they're not 100%. I would say, I wouldn't say they're like 100% there to drafting, but I do think they want to draft. And like, I've kind of said this for a while now, like, I think management wants that pick, and I think they want to use that pick. And I think this is kind of the time where it's like, all right, we get a chance to kind of use our, use our scouts and use all these guys that have put a lot of work in. And Chuck even said that, that these guys put a lot of work in throughout the year, and they, want to be able to use that pick. So, he did say that essentially it needs to be a player that's at a certain age group if they're going to do that. Now, obviously, that what comes to mind is Alex DeBrincat. At least for me, that's what came to mind to me when he said DeBrincat. And the trade rumor, I guess, or you could say the whole speculation of Farabee or York or Farabee and York. I guess you can take that either way. The number 5 overall pick and a Tyson Forster level prospect is way too much for Alex DeBrincat. Look, I mean, I know this came out before Farabee was injured, but Farabee is hurt. York is going to be on the Flyers next year. I can probably guarantee that to you. First round pick, number 5 overall, and that's a pretty high pick. And then Tyson Forster level prospect, who is also hurt as well. If it was Forster or if it wasn't, that's still a lot. And Alex DeBrincat, for example, right? If you go on the cap friendly, DeBrincat right now is a restricted free agent with 1 year left at $6.4 million and will be a UFA after this. So I don't see the Flyers going out. Look, I completely agree. They need goal scoring. I think they need a player like a DeBrincat, like a Gaudreau. But I don't think trading Farabee, York, the first, and a Forster level prospect is on the table. I mean, that's a lot. Like to me, that's like going for like a guy like a Matthews or somebody like it's just way, way, way too much. And DeBrincat, he's a star player. It's not like DeBrincat. I'm not saying DeBrincat's not a good player. I'm not saying I wouldn't trade for him. But I'm not giving up, because again, like sure, you're adding something, you're taking away one of your best easily your best young offensive player in Farabee, one of your best younger defensemen in New York, that number 5 overall pick, where you have a pretty good chance of getting a pretty good player. And then you have a Forster level prospect, and that could be anybody. And if it's a Forster level, you're talking Forster, you're talking Wisdom, you're talking Elliot Desnoyers, like you're talking these guys that I don't necessarily think that the Flyers really want to, kind of give up already because you haven't seen much of them. Again, if you're just looking at the Flyers right now, on cap friendly, projected cap hit is $77,381,440. They have 5.1 in projected cap space, 5.1 million. And you have some guys you still have to sign, and you have a good amount of RFAs. Rob here, no way they make that trade. Remember, he plays with Kane. I mean, look, that is true. He does play with Kane, but I'm not going to sit here and say that that's the only reason why he put up 40 this past year. I believe he had 43 goals or something like that. I'm gonna have to double check that now. Yeah, he had 41 goals. 41 goals in 82 games. So again, a really good season from DeBrincat. But I'm not going to sit here and trade all them guys now. If the Flyers are again trying to acquire a player like DeBrincat, or if it is DeBrincat, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm just not trading that much. If you were to ask me what it was, thank you, 41. I don't know. I mean, I think it's so tough. I think that they should draft with the first overall pick. Maybe that's a shock to somebody. I don't really know. Like, I don't think this is the year to kind of go, just all in right again, because they did that last year and it bit them. It really bit them in the behind. And when you go out and you make the trade for Ellison, and then a couple of days later you make that move with Gostisbehere to basically move out Gostisbehere and assets just to get $4.5 million back to get Ristolainen and give up your first round pick. It was just so much that they did. And the Flyers don't have a second round pick. Ryan says I want cap relief. I do too, but I don't want that to be trading another Shane Gostisbehere type trade where it's like you're essentially giving another team assets and and other assets and a good player in Gostisbehere who had a good year for a cap relief. I don't want that again. I just don't want the Flyers to just be so desperate again. It's like I'd rather than just kind of make a couple of moves instead of them, throwing everything, out. I'd rather just them make a couple smaller moves. Like, I think most of this stuff is going to be free agency. Anthony DeGrazio, what's up, man? How are you? Thank you for joining. Connect me and a number 5 for DeBrincat in their second. That's tough. Because I really like Konechny and I hate giving up on him, but like a guy like DeBrincat, I think you might be able to get something there. And Anthony, I think that's perfect. I think that's a perfect type trade for DeBrincat type of guy. I'm not giving up Farabee, York, Forster, all these type of guys. Like, that's too much. I don't know if they would accept it with the second though, because I do agree. I think the Flyers do need a second round pick. They don't have one. But I do think if you were to make this type deal, I think you might be able to get it done that way. And I think that actually would help the Flyers, because it's not like you're just, giving away an asset in a guy like a Farabee, York, Forster level prospect. I mean, look, that's like 3 roster players that could be playing next year for one. And it's basically creating another hole that you really don't have the money to fill either. And I know they have the log jam on the wing, but that's more on the right-hand side than it is the left. And if you're looking to move out salary, you're going to have to move out JVR. So it's like, I kind of understand that too. But I think that I do think that's a perfect trade. I don't know what the second would be if I'm looking just in general, right? If we're looking at Chicago, they have 2 second round picks. They have their own, and then they have Minnesota's. In this year's draft, they also have 3 third-round picks. So Anthony, maybe if that was a third, or maybe if you kind of added another pick in there, I think that would be good. Gaudreau. I do think the Flyers need Gaudreau as well. I think they need a type of player like that. I just think they'll probably go for one of them, not 2. I think the Flyers are going to have a tough time with this draft because of the tight cap space that they have. Hope they cover the draft on YouTube. Jeffrey, the draft will be on. I think it's on the second day. It's on NHL Network. On day 2 on Friday. On the night of round 1, I'd assume it's probably ESPN, maybe TNT. I would assume it's probably ESPN though, since they had the Cup final, but I'm not too sure. And I think you should be able to get it out there in Colorado. But again, kind of like what I was saying, like I do think getting these trades, like I think a lot of the stuff is kind of just speculation and things like that. Robert traded CK Lindblom. Like I do think Lindblom is more tradable then he is the buyout. I think buying Lindblad out is stupid, if I'm being honest with you. I just don't think it's the right move. I'd rather, again, like kind of like what I was saying, you're trading out assets to get cap space. I would rather them just move Lindblom to get an asset than just to save $600,000. I think it was like 666,000 and something else in change, right? So I would rather them just move out Lindblom for a third or even a fourth round pick, something like that, instead of them literally buying him out when it doesn't make any sense to. You honestly could still use him if you wanted. I just think his contract is movable. And it's funny because like Nick Paul gets that deal, 7 years, I think 3 million it was, or 3.5. That is an incredible deal, and Nick Paul is such a good player, and it makes me think if the Flyers try to go for like Palat is a guy that I want, because there's McDonough, and McDonough's now, they might be trying to move McDonough, and I would take Ryan McDonough in a heartbeat, especially with the whole Ellis situation. It's just the term and his cap hit and his age. He's already 33 with 3 years left, with a no trade and then a modified no trade in the last year. At I think 6.75 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So I don't know if McDonough can still play at that level, but let's take a break real quick. Hear from SeatGeek. All right, so we are interrupting the show for a minute to talk about SeatGeek. SeatGeek, as you know, has sponsored me for actually a while now. Great service to get tickets. Now, again, if you're wondering, if you want to try to get some save some money, if you're curious on what tickets are around, who's coming to Philly, if it's a concert or a baseball game, even when the Flyers come back to play, SeatGeek is a great way to get tickets and to save yourself some money. They have provided me with a code that can get you $20 off your first purchase of $50 or more on tickets. You can either do this through the website, if you were to just look it up through a internet browser, whether it's Google, anything like that, or on the app. You can add it to the app, and it'll take $20 off the first order, $50 or more. The code is Flyers Fan Mania in all capital letters that you see on the screen here. And again, SeatGeek is really easy to use. I've used it myself when buying tickets. Again, and this is even before they were sponsoring the show. I've used it myself. They're great. They have everything listed. It's very easy to use. You go on, you search, just like you see on the screen here. You search, you look through, you go on the seating chart, and on that seating chart, they rate these deals from 0 to 10. That's what all those dots are. And the green are great deals. The yellow, they're good. Red, not so much. Probably you're paying more money. So you want to stay in the green, right? So if you can find a good deal, use that green dot to kind of navigate. They have so many different things that you can check if you need wheelchair accessibility, or if you want seats on the glass if it's a hockey game, or if you want to sit in the pit at a concert, whatever. There's so many different things. There's so many things that you can check on the app and things like that. But again, SeatGeek is sponsoring the channel and the podcast now. And again, they are awesome. And make sure you go check them out. And you can save yourself some money on some tickets when the Flyers come back around in October. All right, we are back. Again, check out SeatGeek. SeatGeek is awesome. A lot of good things there. So again, I like a lot of what we were kind of talking about here. I think a good amount of what's going to come this season, I think, is again, I don't want the Flyers to be too desperate. I don't want them to try to, let's say, again, move out money just to move out money to again pay a team, essentially, where you're giving them an asset and that type of player, like a Gostisbehere type trade. I don't want that again. I just don't think it's worth it. Robert, can't wait to see Forster shot. Same. I really like the way that Forster shoots the puck, and that's kind of why I like a guy like Joakim Kemmel. He can shoot. He's good defensively. A lot of good things from Kemmel, and I think he definitely is that type of guy that the Flyers can kind of get in this draft. But again, another thing that I didn't even mention yet was Colorado winning the Stanley Cup. It's not like too surprising to me. The Avs are incredible, and there's a lot of good things that Colorado does. Just oh my God, they're just such a good team, and seeing all the things with the injuries and the guys with the broken thumb from Kadri. There was somebody else that had a broken thumb as well. I can't remember at the moment who it was exactly, but again, I think there's a lot of good things that the Avs did throughout the year. I mean, they're just such a good team, and just the way that they play, they're so fast, and again, like their power play is really, really good. And obviously, Maher, I mean, he was incredible winning the Conn Smythe, and like the one thing that I honestly think the Flyers have to kind of get back to it. And again, it's so hard to. And it's so easy to say that too, like, oh, well, the Flyers are miles off from Colorado. It's like, yeah, but like realistically, every team is, because nobody else was in the Cup final. So it's like, it's kind of why I never really understood like the whole thing, because like I don't think the Flyers are building a team to get exactly right back to where the Colorado Avalanche are a year later, because that's very hard. But like the one thing with the Avs to me is the forecheck. Like their forecheck is incredible, and I love the way that they get into the zone. They're very creative. They have a lot of creative players in the offensive zone, and I do think the Flyers kind of need some of that as well. Ryan, Zach McEwen is mostly coming back. Some good news, yes. It definitely seems like it as well. I had actually talked with Wade Ellison, and he actually said that he wants to be back, and that's the plan as well. So that is one thing as well. It seems like, again, like the Flyers have a good amount of RFAs to sign, and that was another thing I wanted to mention too before the break. You have a good amount of guys here that you have to sign that are restricted free agents. As for, look, you have, just starting with the Flyers, you have Frost, McEwen, Tippett going down to the Phantoms. So that's three right there: Frost, McEwen, and Tippett. You have Ellison, Jackson Cates, Hayden Hodgson, Tanner Legzinski, Isaac Ratcliffe, Matthew Strohm, Maxim Sushko, Linus Hogberg, and Kirill Ustimenko. So that is pretty much all of the RFAs right there that pretty much have to be signed and at least come back for next year. So there are a good amount of those guys that I do think majority of them will come back. Like Hogberg, for sure. I thought he played really well towards the end of the year. Wade Ellison, again, like I just mentioned, that's perfectly fine. Jackson Cates, I definitely would keep for the Phantoms. I thought, he'd play. I like Jackson Cates' game too, because he's just simple two-way type player. Hodgson, I think that they'll keep for the Phantoms. Legzinski, 100% I would keep. Ratcliffe, I thought played well in the NHL. I honestly kind of hope that Legzinski is our fourth line center going into next year. That would be nice. Matthew Strohm, he's another one that I definitely I don't know if the Flyers will keep him, but he is one guy that I think that they could at least keep in the AHL. I really don't know though. It's so tough with him. I mean, he's one of them guys that it's just like you don't really know kind of what's going on. I mean, he's still younger. He's 23, so I guess we'll see. But Sushko, I think the Flyers will probably sign Sushko unless he signs in I believe in Belarus, right from. So he could sign and they're in another league, but I'm not too sure. I think he will probably stay in the Flyers organization. Ustimenko, I don't know. I'm really not too sure. He's one of the guys that's kind of taken a while. You have Ellison, you have Sandstrom, obviously, and then you obviously have the situation with Fedotov now. I don't know if they'll sign Ustimenko. He's kind of been up and down with Reading and Lehigh Valley and all this different things. So, I'm really not too sure on that front, because it's tough with that, because is he going to be able to play in the AHL? I'm not too sure. I mean, he's last handful of years, Ustimenko, he's been, how would I describe it? I guess you could say maybe up and down. He hasn't necessarily had the best type numbers, obviously playing in the ECHL as well. And this is going back from 2019-20. this past season. So 2019-20 with Reading, played 31 games played, 919 save percentage, 240 goals against average. Goes up to the Phantoms, plays 5 games, 889 save percentage, 384 goals against average. Reading Royals in 21-22, 916 save percentage, 267 goals against average. So some pretty decent numbers again in the ECHL, but goes with the Phantoms, 900 save percentage, 291. So it doesn't seem like he can really get. It doesn't seem like he's able to get. He can't transfer his game over from the ECHL to the AHL. So I'm not too sure how that's gonna, go for the Flyers and kind of how they look at it as well. And again, if you're looking at just some free agents and things like that, look, I think there's a lot of different guys. And honestly, another thing, I want to go back to the Cup final real quick. I really liked how Colorado played in Game 6. That third period that they had, well, that was one of the best defensive clinics I think I've watched in a long time. I think they gave them 3 shots, and Tampa actually almost scored. Kucherov had on the 2-on-1. I really, really liked the way that they played. I mean, they just shut down. I mean, everything. Like, it was like they knew, and again, they were the guys that were last 3 years in a row losing the second round. San Jose, Dallas, or actually it was San Jose, Dallas, Vegas were the last handful of years. Dallas in the bubble, San Jose when they lost on the offside goal, and then you have the last season to Vegas when they lost in 6 games. And Robert wouldn't mind Kadri. I don't think Kadri's leaving. I would like Kadri too, but for the right price. Again, his numbers are inflated obviously because he's on a good team, but I'm not going to sit here and say Kadri's not a good player. I would like Nazem Kadri too. It's just I don't know how much money and why would he leave Colorado. That's kind of where I look at Kadri. Free agents, again, I mean, and kind of looking at Tampa Bay, they signed Paul. They have a couple of the other guys. Gabinator 33, what's up, man? How are you? Tippett is a man. If he can close on those chances, just watch out, dude. I 100% agree. Tippett, I think is a good enough player to where he can at least get a good amount of, he's able to get scoring chances. He's able to get a lot of these different things. And I felt like towards the end of the year, he was at least able to generate himself chances. He finished a good amount of them. I think in 3 or 4 games, he had 3 breakaways. So it's not like, it's not like Tippett wasn't able to generate offense. It's not like he wasn't able to make plays. Similar to Konechny, it's not it would be worrisome if they weren't getting chances. That's kind of how I look at it. If Konechny and Tippett and all these other guys for us, if they weren't getting chances, they weren't creating plays in the offensive zone like they were towards the end of the year, then that's kind of where I look at it okay, then I'm a little worried. But they were at least getting chances. So I think Tippett, if he gets a shooting coach, and I actually talked about this with Russ Cohen towards the end of the season last year, he is a guy that kind of does need a shooting coach. And I think it's something that if he works on, it can be good. And again, the Flyers in the right wing side of things, right? Again, just looking at the 10 forwards that are on here on Cap Friendly, Van Riemsdyk most likely plays left wing but can play right. You have Atkinson, Konechny, Lawton can play left wing. You have Brink can play right wing. Brown can also play right wing. McEwen plays right wing. You have Tippett. You also have Ellison, who can play right wing. You can even have Zinski play right wing. I feel like he pretty much can play anything, but I'd rather prefer him at center. Again, I mean, they have so many guys right wing. You have Tuamala down in the just down in the system. Owe Lixel, you have his right wing as well. So I think there's a lot of different things here, who can play right wing and this and that. I think a lot of it is going to be, competition at camp, and that was kind of how I saw the Fedotov thing as well. I mean, that's going to be a competition in camp type thing. And now with the whole situation, it doesn't seem that way. So we'll see. Sam Old. Rick Bonus, new coach of the Winnipeg Jets. Tocchet turned Jets offer down. I wonder if he's going to be new coach for the Sharks. Interesting. Bonus is a good fit. I think that's a good coach for Winnipeg. They're a team that a lot closer to playoffs and contention than we are. So that makes sense to me. I can picture Forster at left circle with that shot, like Stamkos. Yeah, that's true. Like, I think a lot of that too is putting the right guys in the right spot. And again, I think that's also another reason why the Flyers need a top player. You're going to need a higher end type of guy. If you're going to want to be able to do something. So kind of going back to the press conference a little bit, and then I want to get into a couple free agents. So obviously we'll get into a couple calls as well. Farabee, that was injury essentially, and the surgery was 2 weeks ago. It was lightweight bench press. He saw a doctor in Syracuse, went down to Dr. Yu here at Penn, and then had surgery 4 days later. It seems like the Flyers are going to have 8 games in October. That was kind of something that Fletcher had said. I don't know if people kind of just looked that over or what, but it seemed like the schedule mock-up seems like it's going to be 8 games in October. Another thing, too, is the preseason. It seems like a good amount of teams have announced their preseason schedule. A couple things here with the Flyers. I put out a tweet yesterday that the Flyers will play the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo Tuesday, September 27th at 7 o'clock. So now we know of at least 3 games so far because the Bruins and the Sabres schedule both got announced and the Flyers are on both. So the Bruins, September 24th, in Philadelphia. That is a Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Buffalo on the 27th, like I just mentioned, that's in Buffalo, 7 o'clock. That's a Tuesday. And then October 1st, that is a Saturday afternoon in Boston at 1 o'clock. So it's such an unfortunate thing. With everything that's been kind of going on, it's also just reading some more stuff on Fedotov. So that, but again, with the schedule, it's good that we're at least, seeing some games. Ryan, I kind of like, Sandstrom in that role as well. I just don't know if the Flyers want to bank on that. That's just my only question. Why did Giroux leave? I think Giroux left because he wanted to get a chance for a cup, and that's the biggest thing. Again, free agents. Look, I think there's a lot of different things here, and players that you think, or that at least that I feel like at least a good amount of us can at least kind of say that, we'll be nice to get this guy or we'll be nice to get that guy. I think a lot of them are the high name guys like the Forsberg, the Gaudreau. I do think the Flyers need a Gaudreau type guy. I think they need a Forsberg type guy. I think it's so tough though. I mean, like there's so many different things that go on with this, and I just feel like every time we talk about free agents or if it's like a trade or anything, like we're always wrong anyway. It's always like a speculation kind of thing. But if I'm the Flyers, I think I'm looking for, I kind of think that they're going to go for another type center, maybe like a Brassard type thing. If they were to do that, I really wouldn't be mad at that at all. Again, you have Frost that can play center. If you want, you can keep him at wing. You have Cates. You can also keep him. At center, you could also even keep Cates at wing. So I think a lot of this is going to see I think the biggest thing is just seeing how training camp goes. Because with training camp and everything else, like if there were some free agents that I would look at, if they were to try to sign any of these guys, Palat is one. I don't know how much he would cost. Probably something north of 6. Would be my guess. Nino Niederreiter is another one. Would not mind Max Domi. I think that's another guy that would love playing here. Forsberg, I wouldn't mind Forsberg. I just don't see that happening whatsoever. I do think Giroux to Ottawa. I don't know. I mean, I don't think Giroux is at the stage of his career where he wants to go to the Ottawa Senators. They're a team that isn't close to contending. They're not really close for a playoff spot either. I kind of see it as more of Florida. I think he's going to re-sign there. I don't know if he'll take a cut. I don't see him coming back to the Flyers. Jeffrey, I still miss Drew as a Flyer. Hopes he re-signs the Panthers. I do think Florida would be fine for G. I don't think it's anything too crazy. kind of looking at that. Like again, like McDonough, like I keep everything in my head kind of keeps going back to McDonough. And if the Flyers were to get him, obviously it will be great with the whole Ellis situation. But I think more of this stuff is going to be for agency. Again, a couple of the guys like I just mentioned, Palat, Domi, Niederreiter. I wouldn't mind. Like David Perron would be nice, but I don't think he's leaving St. Louis. Ricard Raquel, I said him for a while. I really would like Raquel, but again, I don't know if he would leave Pittsburgh, and I also don't know how much he'd cost. So there's that as well. I don't know. I look like again, like there's so many different guys. I think like these next couple of weeks are going to be crazy. But before we forget, the main thing from the show is obviously the calls. Let's get a couple callers in here now.
Hey, Chris, Mike, your father's friend. I just wanted to know your opinion on, do you believe Scott Lawton deserves to keep the A? Because I believe at the end of the year, he was the best Flyer we had, and I think he deserves it. Just let me know what you think. Have a good show.
I'm still muted again. I do that all the time. I go to speak and then I realize I'm muted. Yeah, Lawton, I do think Lawton can keep the A. That is one thing that I would say with Scotty is, yes, I would keep the A. I think he's one of the better veterans on this team, and I think he's a very important player to the Flyers. He definitely is a guy that I would keep. He is a guy that I would, yes, keep with the A. I think he deserves that. I think he's been here for a while. Look, I think the biggest thing is just trying to find the right mix of players. And I do think that Lawton is a guy that you keep. I don't think he's a guy you try to move. I think, to me, like, I don't really see them changing any of the assistant captains. I don't know if they'll go a whole overhaul once they get a new captain, because again, they did talk about that being more towards the end. And that kind of being like the last kind of resort, and Torts wants to do that after he meets some people. But this next call here comes from Craig Eagles. If everybody knows, I've had Craig on before. He's a scout over in the Quebec Major Junior League. Craig does a great job. If you don't follow him, I suggest doing so. But let's hear Craig's call here.
Hopefully everything's going well. Great show today. Hopefully Zach McEwen re-signs with Flyers, and there's some solid talent in the QMJHL with regards to the 2022 NHL draft. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you, Craig, for calling in. Always do appreciate it. Again, Craig is awesome. Please check him out. Yeah, look, again, like to me, McEwen, I think is I just don't know why people wouldn't want to sign him. I think he's perfect for the role. For how much McEwen made before coming here, it wasn't much. He only made $125,000 this past year, and that was signed with Vancouver. I think, again, for the money that McEwen gets paid and the role that he plays, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think he pours his heart out into pretty much everything. And again, going back to what Craig said as well about some talent in the draft with the Q, the Flyers also did offer Jonathan Lemieux, who is a goaltender for the Moncton Wildcats, a spot at development camp. So that is one thing. Development camp is coming up in a couple weeks. Probably be not next week, but the following week is what it seems like it's going to be. 6'10" Sheen here. Chris, thoughts on Johnny Hockey returning? Oh, dude, I would love it. I would absolutely love Johnny Hockey. I think that would be huge for the Flyers and just in general. I think a lot of the, and it's funny because somebody mentioned to me, like, the Flyers are going to get a lot more like national media coverage now with those guys and guys like Torts, right? I think Johnny Hockey would be huge for that. So I really do like that. But let's get into the next caller here.
Hey, Chris Maher. This is Mason calling in. I was wondering about a hockey player on the Flyers, Claude Giroux. I was wondering if he was going to play in the off season or get back. I'd love if you could answer this question on your podcast. Currently listening in. Let me know. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, Giroux, I don't think he's going to re-sign here. I do think he's going to play again. If the question was if he's going to come back, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be staying in Philly, or at least I don't think he's going to be in Philly for. I think he's done. I don't think he's going to come back to the Flyers. I just think it's an unfortunate situation. Do I want the Flyers to bring Hag back? I wouldn't mind Hag because again he hits. You move the puck up the ice. I think if you put Hag in the right system in the right situation, I think he could be okay. I would not be opposed to it at all. I think Hag would be a good fit. Atkinson for captain from Jeffrey, dude. I would like that as well. I really do like Cam, and I think the three guys for me for captain are Couturier, Atkinson, and Lawton. Those are my three guys. And I outside of that, I'm not too sure. I mean, I think we have to see who else the Flyers kind of bring in here as well, and kind of who else is at least on the team come training camp. But let's get into the next caller here.
Chuck Fletcher is the biggest bum in the NHL that hockey has ever seen. All right. Have you seen this man? Have you seen the trades? It sucks because Trotz didn't even want to be here. $7 million plus dollars. That just shows how bad Chuck Fletcher, a GM, is. I can't wait till 2026. So hopefully Comcast fires him. Let me get somebody new. Hopefully then we can rebuild this team. But right now, he's giving me heart palpitations. I hate Chuck Fletcher more than I hate the Devil. Chuck Fletcher needs to go.
Well, I certainly understand the frustration. It's unfortunate because some people are like that. I mean, look, I can't sit here and again, that's not me like harping on the guy or anything. I think a lot of it is Fletcher. It is some people look. I think a lot of it is I think a lot of what Chuck's done is he's been in a pretty tough situation. I don't necessarily think he's done the best job, but I don't think he's been put in an easy situation either. I feel like if you're going back a couple years, like 2020, 2021, going into that season, I think a good amount of what it was trying to find the defenseman, and then he couldn't really do that, and then kind of signed Gustafsson, and then I don't think they panicked to sign Braun because it was kind of reported that they knew about Niskanen when the bubble ended, and that was announced a couple weeks or at least a month after the fact when Niskanen retired. And then this past year, again, he did everything essentially to try to make the team better, and it all kind of backfired. So look, I think it's tough, but let's move on to the next caller.
Yo, Chris, I'm going to keep it short and sweet right here. I know you mentioned you think Philip Forsberg is one of the guys that they target. What, if it was down to you, Johnny Hockey or Philip Forsberg? Forsberg's a year younger. He's probably $1 to $2 million cheaper. Which one would you prefer?
Thank you, Paul, for calling in. Forsberg and Gaudreau, look, it's such a tough comparison. They're both great players. I think the more likely decision would be Gaudreau. That's just me though. I do think that's pretty much who it is. Robert, Christopher GM, dude, I appreciate it. It means a lot, but I think we'd be even more screwed if I was the general manager, because I think I'd probably make reactive moves out of anything. Again, kind of going back to Paul's question, I don't know, man. It's so tough. Like I think Gaudreau is a great player, and I think I look, both these guys are going to do a lot. I mean, they're gonna help you. They're going to play in this, pretty much same position on the wing. They're both, speedy. They're skilled. They again pretty good. Just on the offensive side of the puck, there's so many good areas that they play in, and the power play would obviously be better with these guys here. But again, I think a lot of this is trying to find the right players and trying to find the right guys to play for this hockey club coming up, this summer. I mean, this fall. And look, it's such a tough situation because you have to do so much. And again, this is kind of like the start of it. We see a bunch of different things and, the Kevin Fiala trade and all this stuff. But look, I thought episode 4 was pretty good. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in and coming here with me live. Again, seriously, thank you to Russ. Again, as always. And again, I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. With everything that's been coming in the last handful of weeks. Again, coming up to the end here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you all again next week.